You are 40. You have never signed a mortgage. Not once. Not close. Your friends have equity, home insurance, and strong opinions about interest rates. You have a lease, a duffel bag you could pack in 10 minutes, and a number in an account none of them have ever asked to see, because it never occurred to them to ask. Last Sunday, your cousin asked the question again, over dessert, the way she always does. When are you finally going to buy? She said it the way people say, feel better soon, like you were sick, and the cure was obvious, and your refusal to take it was starting to worry the family. You smiled. You passed the bread. You did not tell her that at 40, for the first time in your life, you could leave this city in 30 days flat and nothing would break behind you. No mortgage, no rate lock, no 30-year promise made to a building that has never once said your name back. You never bought a house. At 40, you were free. Not rich, free. And the people who called you reckless still cannot leave their zip code without a sale, a loss, and a phone call to a bank that owns more of their future than they do. This isn't a rent versus buy spreadsheet. This is what one refusal cost you and what it bought you instead. You are 24. A Saturday in May. An open house on a street where every lawn looks rehearsed. The realtor's blazer doesn't quite fit him. He calls you guys like you're already a unit that owes him something. He walks you past a kitchen smelling like fresh paint and somebody else's ambition. Stops in a back bedroom facing a chain-link fence and says the word starter like it's a gift. He says if you wait, the market will leave you behind. It's a threat dressed as advice. You've heard that trick before, just never aimed at your whole future. The number on the sheet is more than your parents paid for the house you grew up in, combined, with inflation adjusted twice. You do the math on your phone in the bathroom, fan running so no one hears the calculator. Down payment, closing costs, a monthly number that would own every single Friday for the next 30 years. Your girlfriend stands in the empty bedroom and says it feels like a future. You say it feels like a sentence. The legal kind, not the grammar kind. She laughs. You don't. That night, kitchen table, a light overhead that hums like it's thinking about giving up. You write two numbers on a torn piece of paper. One is the monthly payment. The other is what that same money becomes if it never buys drywall, never buys a roof, never buys the right to say mine out loud at a dinner table. The second number is big enough that you read it twice, out loud, just to hear if it sounds real. It does. You fold the paper, you put it in a drawer, you tell no one, not even yourself, that this is the beginning of something. Monday, a coworker shows off photos of the place he just put an offer on. The office gathers around his phone like it's a sonogram. Everyone congratulates him. You nod at the right moments. You don't know it yet, but this is the first time you refuse to buy permission. Permission to feel like an adult. Permission to feel finished. Permission to stop answering a question that was never actually about housing. You are 27. The market is climbing like it has somewhere urgent to be. Every group chat is a listing. Every coworker has a closing date circled in their calendar like a due date. A friend named Graham buys a condo with a balcony the size of a yoga mat and posts the keys. Fire emojis for an hour straight. At lunch, someone asks when you're getting in. Still looking, you say. Looking is the lie you use to buy time without spending it. That weekend, family dinner. Your uncle puts a hand on your shoulder between the salad and the main course and says, renting is throwing money away. The way people say facts they've never once fact-checked. Your mother nods the worried nod, the one she thinks looks neutral. Your father says nothing, which is worse. Silence. From a man who always has a take, lands like a verdict. You drive home in a car that's paid off, which nobody at that table thought to mention. You open the drawer. The number has grown quietly, the way things grow when nobody's watching them on purpose. You put the paper back. The doubt has a voice now, and it sounds exactly like your uncle. It says you're losing a race everyone else already finished. You don't know it yet, but pity is starting to form in the mouths of people who love you. Pity always arrives dressed as concern, and it's always wearing someone else's clothes. You are 30. The sentence starts following you into rooms. Still renting? Said with a smile that isn't quite a smile. At birthdays, at weddings, by people who haven't run a single real number on their own lives in a decade. At Graham's housewarming, you hold a plastic cup of something too sweet, while his wife gives the tour. Square footage, granite, the guest room they'll use for a baby someday. Someone raises a glass to home ownership. Everyone claps. Your hands know the choreography even when your chest refuses to join in. On the drive home, your partner goes quiet. Halfway there, she says she just wants a place that's theirs. You say the apartment already is. She says you know what she means. you do. Ownership as proof. Ownership as the one answer that ends every conversation before it starts. That night, in bed, brightness turned all the way down. You open a real estate app anyway. You scroll. Your thumb hovers over Schedule a Tour. You think about the paper in the drawer. You think about Graham's granite and the way people clapped like a mortgage was a graduation. You close the app. You sit in the dark for 20 minutes, and you are not okay. Not because of the money, but because of the way still renting landed in your chest like a diagnosis nobody asked you to take. The next morning, a coworker named Ingrid stops by your desk. Ingrid is 41. Ingrid has rented the same apartment for 12 years. She says, "For what it's worth, I stopped explaining myself at 35. Best decision I ever made." Then she walks away before you can answer. Something moves. You don't know what it is yet, but something moves. You are 33. Rates are low. Everyone is refinancing, upgrading, trading up like it's a competitive sport with a scoreboard only they can see. A realtor cold calls you on a Wednesday and says she has something perfect. Perfect is a word people use when they want you to stop thinking. You almost go, not because the math changed, but because you're tired of being the exception in every room you walk into. You tour a townhouse on a Tuesday evening. Hardwood, good light, a backyard the size of a parking space, but a backyard. Your partner's face changes in a way you've been half waiting years to see. Hope is a hard thing to watch when you're the one holding the brakes. The numbers almost work. Almost is doing a lot of quiet, dangerous work in that sentence. That night, you run it all again at the table. Principal, interest, taxes, insurance, maintenance, and the opportunity cost of a down payment that stops compounding the exact day it becomes drywall. You look at your partner and say, if you do this, you're choosing a city, a job market, a version of the next 30 years that isn't easy to undo. She's quiet for a long time, then says she's scared of waking up at 45 still explaining herself. You say you're scared of waking up at 45 unable to leave. Neither of you is wrong. That's what makes it cruel. You walk out of the deal. You don't celebrate. You feel something closer to grief. Grief for a life you didn't choose, and grief for the approval that came bundled with it. You don't know it yet, but this was the night you almost broke. The paper stays in the drawer. The number keeps growing while everyone else's square footage does the same. You are 36. The market spikes. Friends who bought at the right time look like geniuses. Friends who stretched look rich on paper and exhausted in person. Graham messages the group chat. His place is up 40%, and he says he wishes you'd listened. You wish you could show him a screenshot of your own number. You can't. Numbers like yours don't get fire emojis. They get silence. Because nobody in that chat has the vocabulary for a number that isn't attached to a house. That year, a couple from college loses a bidding war by $80,000, stretches on the next one, and wins. 6 months later, one of them is laid off. The house doesn't care. The payment doesn't care. You watch it happen from a one-bedroom that still costs less than their interest payment alone. You feel something you're not proud of, not joy, relief that their story isn't yours, then guilt for the relief, then something colder and more useful, clarity. A house isn't a trophy. A house is a monthly commitment with a voice. And some commitments buy freedom. Some just buy a nicer cage with better lighting. You start measuring life differently, not in bedrooms, in exits. Can you leave this job without panic? Can you take a year in another city? Can you say no without asking a bank's permission first? The answer is almost. Not yet, but almost. You open the drawer more often now, not out of panic, out of calibration. The paper's gone soft at the folds. The number has a weight the apartment never did. You are 38. Something shifts. Not the floor plan, the questions. Still renting gets quieter. Or maybe you just stopped offering explanations, and the silence starved the question out. A friend calls on a weeknight, voice careful. She's underwater on a place she bought at the peak. She asks how you stayed out. Not accusing, hungry. You tell her the truth. You were never smarter, just more afraid of being stuck than of looking behind. She's quiet for a long time, then says she envies that. Nobody used the word envy on you at 27. At 38, it starts showing up in lowered voices, in careful ones. Your landlord offers a longer lease and a fresh coat of paint unprompted. He says good tenants are rarer than good units. You realize something the market never puts in a brochure. Stability can be rented. Belonging can be rented. A life can be built on a foundation you don't own, as long as the foundation is options. You open the drawer. This time, you don't put the paper back. You leave it on the counter next to your keys. The number isn't theoretical anymore. It's a door. It's a no you can finally afford to say. You are 40. An ordinary Tuesday. No alarm set. You make coffee and sit at the window, watching a street you could leave tomorrow if you wanted to. Your phone has no mortgage app, no escrow email, no rate alert dressed up as urgency. Last month, a job offer came from another city. You said you'd think about it, and you actually could. Graham can't. Not without listing, staging, waiting, praying the appraisal matches the story he's been telling himself for a decade. Your cousin can't either. Most of the people who ever asked when you were buying cannot move a single inch without a sale, a loss, and a negotiation with a building that owns a piece of their calendar for the next 20 years. You never bought a house. At 40, you were free. Free isn't a mansion. Free isn't a flex. Free is the ability to change your life without asking a lender's permission first. You think about the open house at 24, the blazer that didn't fit, the word starter said like a gift. You think about the night you almost signed the townhouse deal. You think about Ingrid and her quiet refusal to perform a life for an audience. You think about the paper, soft at the folds now, still telling the truth it told you at 24. You didn't win a race. You left one. A race that required a 30-year uniform and a smile at every housewarming for the rest of your natural life. Somewhere, right now, someone is 24, standing in an empty bedroom, being told the market will leave them behind. The fan is running so no one hears the calculator. The number on the sheet is bigger than anything their parents ever signed. They can already feel the question forming at their next family dinner. When are you going to buy? They think the answer has to be a house. It doesn't. Sometimes the answer is a number that stays liquid. Sometimes the answer is a life that can still turn when the job ends, when the city sours, when the person you love wants a different horizon than the one a bank already approved for you. Maybe you already chose. Maybe you're walking into an open house this weekend. Maybe you're 36 and underwater right now, reading this like a mirror you didn't ask for. Maybe you bought, and it was exactly right for you, and none of this was ever aimed at your choice. Either way, there's a question waiting in your lease, your rate, or your drawer. It was never, when are you going to buy? It was always, what are you unwilling to trade for the appearance of arrival?